Raider Nation, what's good? Jesse Merrick here. Welcome into another episode of the Silver and Black Sports Network podcast. Today, we've got the homie Q Myers from Raider Nation Radio jumping on the show. You know, he always brings the heat. This was an awesome conversation. Q is the man. We talked about Tyree Wilson and whether or not the young D lineman is turning the corner. He's been doing a lot of practice. Plus, the competition along the offensive line is back on. We'll dive into what's going on at right guard, and we explain why the deep connection between Geno Smith and Dont'e Thornton just hasn't quite clicked yet. It's a work in progress. All that and so much more. Q's take on this team is so valuable. You guys are really going to like this one. All right, Q, thanks again for joining us, my man. Before we get to more of the wholesale team stuff, let's dive into what you saw at practice today. There was a lot going on at practice.
Yeah, there's no doubt, man. There was a ton, and thanks for having me on the show. I do appreciate it.
For sure.
There's a lot going on, man. I mean, as Pete Carroll has been running this team, there's been a lot going on at practice, and it just seems like there's no real wasted motions, right? I mean, it seems like every drill is done with intentions. It seems like every drill is done purposely and full speed. And I think that's the biggest takeaway is that everything that they're doing it at full speed. So even when they make a mistake, it's at full speed. And you can live with that, right? If you make a mistake, but you're going full throttle, that's okay because you can fix the error, but you can't correct effort. And so that's been something that we've seen a lot of with the effort. And, you know, you see Geno Smith continue to look like he has a command of the offense. And, you know, what I'm excited for and what I'm waiting for and I keep telling Raider Nation about is once him and Dont'e Thornton Jr. can get on the same page, they have an opportunity to be special. Now, it's going to take some growth from the rookie wide receiver, and it's obviously going to take some growth from Geno Smith just to learn where he wants the ball. But if they can ever figure things out, and right now we just get a small sample size in practice and training camp, but if they can figure things out, man, that vertical offense that the Raiders have been so known for years on top of years can actually be back in this offense. They're not afraid to dial up a shot. They've just got to start connecting on it.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up about Dont'e because that was something I did want to get into. It's very clear that they are still working on that. They've been making it a big emphasis in practice. What's your take on where the disconnect is? I know you said a little bit of the ball placement and stuff, but what do you think needs to change for him to be able to kind of jumpstart that process?
He's just a wide receiver that's learning how to be an NFL wide receiver. Like he's a true college, especially coming from that Josh Heupel offense in Tennessee, where it's basically one read, you know the ball's coming your way or it's not. And I keep comparing it to, you know, the Baylor offense when I covered them when I was in Central Texas, when Art Briles was the head coach of Baylor. There was times, Jesse, that wide receivers wouldn't even actually leave the line of scrimmage. They would just kind of, you know, pump their hands and pump their arms like they're running in motion just because they knew the ball wasn't coming to them. So it was not a big deal. Now, the Josh Heupel offense isn't exactly that, but it's very similar where, you know, you look over to the sideline, you see a color and you're like, okay, the ball's going to that color. So you can take off from the line of scrimmage in full throttle knowing, okay, this ball's coming my way. In the NFL, you're an option. You might be option one, you might be option three, but you have to run every single route like you're option one and that you know that the ball is coming to you. So, you know, you go back to Saturday when the Raiders played the 49ers in the preseason game, Geno took that deep shot to Dont'e Thornton. If you go back and look at the film, and I know that you have seen it and you've played the position, so you understand what it's all about. You take off from the 40 on a deep shot, you're not looking back at the ball at the 30.
Hell no.
There's no reason to look back at the ball at the 30. That's not where it's going to land. You've got to run full throttle. You got to run full speed. And then around the 10 or 5-yard line, that's when you look back and start tracking it. So I think once Dont'e Thornton Jr. starts to learn how to be a NFL wide receiver, it'll make everything a lot easier. And look, I've seen a lot of growth from him since the start of training camp because that's one guy I've been paying attention to. And I talked to him before training camp started. And I said, hey, how does that offense, that Josh Heupel offense, you know, how does that translate in the NFL? And he said, oh, well, the work that you put in, you'll get out of it. So it's all right, cool. So I can see that there's still some growing pains, but I trust with the way that he's working and how hard he's working, he's going to figure it out. But it's just not the easiest thing to go from the one read, the looking at the color and know you're getting the ball to all of a sudden, I've got to make every rep look like I'm getting the ball, even when I might not be.
Yeah, they talk about it all the time. Like every single route, every single rep needs to look exactly the same, whether it's a run play, pass play, any of that stuff. And he is very clearly still learning those things. And, you know, a guy with his kind of speed, like that's to me that when I watched that play you were referencing there, it was just like, hey, look, like you have that speed. Trust that, you know, like trust that speed. There are a few guys that can keep up with you. I think Trey Tucker can, but that's probably the only dude on this team that really can, you know? And, but yeah, I think the growth of him is going to be interesting and how his route tree develops. Pete talked about the fact that like look, he still hasn't really run a lot of routes or played a lot of like quote unquote like real football, you know?
Right.
And so this is big boy stuff right here. So I am interested to see how that develops. And if it does, it's going to be a game changer for this offense, right?
And I don't think he's 100% healthy yet either,
Nah.
right? I mean, back in OTAs and mandatory minicamp, he had a little bit of a hamstring type situation. And look, these guys, these real fast dudes, these guys that run 4.3, I mean, they're what they call twitchy, right? And so if they have a little bit of a tweak in their hamstring, it's going to slow them down just a little bit, or it's going to get them to start thinking about it. And so when they think about it, I mean, if you feel like, okay, maybe my hamstring's not 100%, and then you're taking off from the line of scrimmage, you're probably not going to run as fast as you normally would. Right, because you're probably thinking, "Hey, is my hammy okay?" So I think there's still a little bit of that growth as well. We saw in the indoor facility when they had their practice on yesterday, the fact that he on one-on-one drills made a really nice catch, really nice play, and then all of a sudden you saw him immediately grab his hammy. So it's like, okay, it's still a little bit tender. So they don't want to push him too much. He's trying to push because he's trying to prove his worth in the NFL. I think he's going to be just fine. It's just going to take a little bit of time, and they're like, work on it together to be on the same page.
Yeah, they're like a Ferrari, man. Like the Ferrari's got to be finely tuned. One little thing off, and it kind of throws it off. But I agree with you on that one. He's going to be an interesting guy to watch, obviously, throughout the season, but the next couple of weeks of camp here. Let's stick with the offense. Yep. We all have been kind of watching and seeing what was happening along the offensive line. Alex Kappa comes back yesterday, but didn't take part in any team. Today, like a full go, taking part in team, individual, all that stuff. And Jackson was the guy with the ones for most of practice. Then all of a sudden, later in practice, we see Alex Kappa getting reps again and then their guard. And Pete had warned us. He said when he's healthy, that competition is going to continue. What's your take on just the way that's transpired and how it works out between him and JPJ?
I feel like the competition is over, but they're not going to say the competition's over, right? I mean, and you saw it. You were there. Alex Kappa missed a lot of time, and he missed multiple games. I don't know if he can make up that gap, right? I don't know if he can make up the time that he missed. Now, I give him credit for going out there and still competing. I give him credit for, feeling like that he's a veteran, so maybe he's able to pick up rather than, have to be there the whole training camp. But I think that JPJ has shown what this coaching staff wants him to show as far as that right guard, show that tenacity, show that, that nasty, that mauler that Lincoln Kennedy always talks about, mauler in the middle. He's not directly in the middle as he's not the center, but he's a mauler right there at that right guard spot. So what we saw on Saturday against the 49ers, saw them open up some holes in the running game. I think that that's ultimately what the offensive line is going to look like. Again, I respect Pete Carroll for the competition aspect. He's had that theme since he took over as the Raiders head coach. So why stop it now? But ultimately, at the end of the day, I just think it's going to be a little too late for Alex Kappa.
Yeah, 100% agree on that one. They've got one real practice, I guess, left in like training camp, and then it goes to the normal routine after that. But also, too, I mean, we very clearly saw in the last game, like they need help on that second unit, especially in the middle of the offensive line. So there's nothing wrong with a guy like Kappa being your backup guard because, as you know, like it's a war of attrition up front, right?
Right, and that there's a big drop off between the first run of the offensive line and the seconds. I mean, the twos are not where they need to be. And so maybe that's where Alex Kappa slides in. Maybe he ends up being part of the twos, and he could be a guy, a veteran anchor, and a guy that really helps them come together. Because, again, as we know, at any given moment, your number could be called. JPJ could go down, and Kappa's got to be ready. So, I'm not saying that there's not a place for him on this team. I just don't think that there's a place for him with the ones. I just don't think that he's had enough time to earn that spot.
Yeah, I agree 100% with that. Let's stick with the offensive line. I'm just curious your take on Jordan Meredith as a center. That was something that I think surprised all of us. But what do you think about him in that role with the way it looks like it's probably going to be with him at center, JPJ at right guard, and the way it's shuffled out all around him? But what do you like about him as a center?
I just liked what they're doing right now. I mean, again, we didn't see it coming, but, after it was brought to our attention and we started really focusing in on it, and we thought at one point it was a competition between him and JPJ at the center, and then we all kind of realized, like, oh, wait, hold on. Jordan Meredith is taking this spot, right?
Yeah.
And the communication, I think, is the biggest key. And that's what, anyone from Lincoln Kennedy to Richie Incognito, anyone who's played along the offensive line has talked about how important it is for that communication from that center. He's the general of that offensive line, right? I mean, as Meredith said, he's heard that the quarterback is the president and the center is the vice president. So he's got to be able to be that guy and make sure that he's got the calls ready, and then that sets up the guards and it sets up the tackles to know what they're supposed to do. So I think he's done a good job. I don't think his body type fits with what they want at the guard spot. I think they want more of that mauler like a JPJ, regardless if he kind of is disappointed that he's not the center or not, because that's the position he was looking forward to playing. But
Yeah.
at the end of the day, man, he could end up being an all-pro, as Adam Butler told us, could be an all-pro guard. And his bank account will appreciate that a little bit later on down the road. But, I mean, just to help this team win games, that's what really matters. So if Jordan Meredith is a better fit at the center spot and then JPJ is better at the guard spot, the most important thing, Jesse, is that they get the best 5 out there, right? Not just, hey, well, I only play center, so if I can't play center, then I'm not going to play. Kirk Morrison said it to me best, and he might have said it to you as well, where he said, look, man, if you go to the YMCA and you're trying to have a pickup basketball game and they got 4 out there, you're not going to be like, well, I can't play because I only play forward or I only play center or I'm only a guard. No, man, you want to get out there and play. So if you want to get out there and play and be part of the best 5, then you do what you got to do.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And I think that for me, the big thing I've noticed with Jordan, too, that just stands out as soon as you talk to him, like the intelligence is just like, he seems like a dude that watches like quantum physics videos in his off time. Like, he is just like that type of guy, you can tell.
Smart dude.
You know,
Smart
and so
dude.
I like what they're doing along the offensive line. Like you said, just get the best 5 out there. I want to hit on the defense.
That's going to be the key to everything, Jesse. If the offensive line is where it needs to go, the offense is going to go. Geno's going to be able to have time to throw the ball. Ashton's going to have an opportunity to run the rock. Like, everything goes off those guys, so you have to get that position right.
Yeah, well, and to that point, actually, you know, let's talk about Ashton, because everybody obviously probably lost their minds, or at least people outside of the building and outside of Vegas after that Seahawks game were like, oh, he's going to suck, all this stuff. I even saw people saying he's like the next coming of Eddie Lacy, which I was like, are you kidding me? Like, chill out, people. Like, we saw a glimpse of what he can be in that game against the 49ers when the blocking is on point. I thought the offensive line played very well. And so I'm with you that, like, they're the motor 100%. But just what's your take on what Ashton showed and what you have seen from him over the last, handful of weeks at practice as well?
Well, I just see a guy that's ready to go. That's the thing about it. And I keep comparing him to that dog that's in the back of the car and he's on a really long road trip and you just can't wait till the door opens up and he could just go, right? I mean, Ashton Jeanty is that guy. He wants to get out there and he wants to go. He's had, 10 carries and so far in his career? Like, can you imagine when he gets into the fourth quarter? Can you imagine when he's had 20 carries under his belt and the offensive line has been wearing on the defense and it's game-winning time? It's that they need that 4-minute drive. They need to be able to run the ball, salt the clock out to win the game. That's what he's waiting for. That's when we'll see Ashton Jeanty at his best, when he can do that. When everyone in the stadium knows you're going to run the ball and you can still effectively run the ball, that's when you have a chance to win. And that's what Pete Carroll wants to do. That's what he did in Seattle with Marshawn Lynch. Every single person, offense and defense, whatever the case may be, it didn't matter what team it was, knew what was coming, and they couldn't stop it. That's what the Raiders are going to be trying to do, and that's what Ashton Jeanty can do. He's just got to get there. So they got to get through this preseason game. I'm sure he won't play on Saturday, and get through the rest of training camp, practice, whatever you want to call it, but it's here, right? And so they're going to start preparing, and he's going to start preparing for New England, and that's all that's going to matter. And then we're going to be able to see Ashton Jeanty on full throttle, man. I mean, you see this guy get 20 carries. What can he do with 20 carries, right? What can he do with 25 carries? And, oh, by the way, he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. So this Chip Kelly offense, you have to have a run game. We know that. If the run game isn't there, then this Chip Kelly offense isn't going to work. So Ashton's got some heavy lifting he's got to do. And then he's got a guy in Zamir White who's had a phenomenal camp who I think is going to be able to help him out and complement him as well. So it might be a really nice 1-2 punch between Ashton Jeanty and Zamir White.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, man. And I like your take on him too, because I even said in the newsletter, that we sent out this morning, the fact that his game is hard to get a good read on in practice because he breaks tackles, and they're not going to hit their top pick like that, And I do think it's gonna be one of those things where it shocks the world, the first couple weeks of the season probably. But we're all gonna be like, yeah, that's like we could kind of see glimpses of that in practice.
He's a tough dude, man. That's the thing about it. He's a really tough dude. He showed a little bit of that against the 49ers when he, trucked their safety. And even the hit that he took, I don't want to see him taking those kind of hits and having to go to the medical tent. But that was also a welcome to the NFL moment, right? I mean, hey, you hit hard. These guys hit hard too. So you got to know when to, get down. You have to know when to live to see another down. But that's a moment that he'll remember. But he also survived it. And that just shows you his toughness. It's not like he got that hit and then he never came back. He was like, okay, they got me on that one, so let me go ahead and return the favor. And he did that. This dude is not going to be easy to bring down. I mean, and I know this isn't Boise State. I know it's not the Mountain West. I get it's not college, but my man went for over 1,800 yards after contact last year. Like over 1,800 yards after contact. So if you think he's going to be a guy that you could bring down with an arm tackle or defenders are going to be able to tackle him up high, They're not. They're going to have to form tackle him. They're going to have to gang tackle him. They're going to have to do a lot to get this dude down. He's not going to go down super easy. So that's something to get excited about. If you were fired up by what Josh Jacobs could do, and I was, I always loved what Josh Jacobs brought to the table. Ashton Jeanty could be just as strong, if not stronger, than you saw from JJ. So that's something for me to get excited about.
Yeah, 100%. And hey, just ask Penn State if it mattered that he played in the Mountain West. You know what I mean? We all saw that game. I want to get your take on the defense here. Obviously, a lot of the talk since the Niners game, I think, and even especially today, has been about Tyree Wilson. Looks like a different guy right now, and I know that's cliche to say, and fans are probably okay, let's see him actually do it. But I know you talked to him one-on-one. What did you gather from him from what you've seen in the last handful of days here, and also just talking to him as well?
Well, he just knows, one, he seems like a different dude, right? He's not the same dude that was drafted number 7 overall just a couple seasons ago. He's going into year 3, which is kind of wild. And he told me on one-on-one, man, that guy that was in KC is a totally different dude now, right? I mean, it's just wild, to see how these guys grow. He knows how big this year is, man. He knows that this year he's got to prove his worth. Now, he may never live up to being the number 7 pick overall, and that's fine, right? I mean, he got selected where he got selected, so be it. But if this guy can all of a sudden become a big-time contributor outside and inside, which is what the way they're playing him right now, then you have something, right? You have another chess piece for this Patrick Graham defense. And this defense is all predicated on getting pressure to the quarterback. Somehow, some way, they've got to get pressure to the quarterback. You see that they can stop the run. The linebackers are doing a great job getting downhill, stopping the run. But it's the route running, it's the passing that's hurting them right now. And I mean, we haven't seen Max Crosby for more than a handful of snaps, but if they don't get pressure on the quarterback, this defense is going to be in trouble, right? Something I've been talking about quite a bit when we meet with Pete Carroll, whether it was on Sunday or it was today, whatever the case may be. I keep asking about communication, right? Safeties, corners, linebackers. And, I don't want to say he downplays it, but he's like, oh, we're getting there. But if you're watching the game, you're seeing there's wide open guys running free, right? You're seeing that guys are, maybe they should be manned up and they're playing zone, and maybe they should be zoned up and they're playing man. There's communication gaps right now, and that's going to hurt this team. Middle of the field is going to be wide open, right? Everything from the numbers to the hash have been open for a while since Patrick Graham really took over as defensive coordinator. They've got to find a way to clean that up, or else that's going to be what's going to hurt this defense. They have too many holes in their defense and let guys run free, and an 8-yard catch turns into a 20-yard pickup. It's just that can't happen. And we saw 3rd and long on Saturday against the 49ers. We saw that converted multiple times. That's the kind of stuff that they've got to clean up. I know reps is going to take a lot of it and clean up a lot of it, but they also just need to get that communication down. They've got veterans at the linebacker position. They got young dudes in the secondary. So it's kind of it's a hard blend. It's a work in progress, but it's clearly something that they're working on.
Yeah, look, I mean, the name of the game is rush and cover, and I think we all feel pretty confident that they're going to be able to rush. Like you said, the coverage is the thing, and to me, as you noted, the thing that's stuck out a lot of times since Patrick Graham has been there is that soft zone coverage. The fix to that, I really don't know. You kind of dove into it a bit there in the communication aspect of it, but do you think it's as simple as hey, maybe shrink the zone a bit? Or I mean, it's something that's confused me over the years. Yeah. I'm just how the heck do they fix this? Because it seems like it's more of a scheme thing, and they're just hoping the rush gets there, and maybe now the length that they have on the back end plays a factor.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I think it's the rush. They're expecting the rush to get home, and when it doesn't, then all of a sudden it puts them on an island. It puts them in a bad position. And I mean, again, they've got to understand the situation. Like in that 49ers game, late in the game, it was 3rd and 8, and you're thinking, okay, 3rd and 8, you probably want to man that up and not allow your wide receiver, the guy you're covering, to get on the inside. And instead, they zoned it. They had the cornerback playing outside, playing the sidelines. And so the wide receiver ran up real quick, and then boom, a quick slant. The whole middle of the field is wide open. There's no linebackers there. Yeah, it's wide open. So then they make the catch, and then they run for another 10 to 12 yards. You have to understand situational football. You have to understand down and distance. You have to understand what your brother's going to be doing across from you. And if you get all that on the same page, then you have an opportunity. This defense, to me, feels like, Jesse, and I could be wrong, we could revisit this in some months and say, oh, Q, you're completely off. I feel like this defense is going to bend a lot, and they're going to hope that they don't break. But I think that they're going to bend a lot. I think they're going to try to rely on creating turnovers, which so far so good. 2 games, 2 interceptions, both by safeties. I like that. But I think they're going to try to be that bend. Okay, you're about to break. Nope, don't break. Right? I think that that's how this defense is really going to go. That's not necessarily my cup of tea, but I think that that's, especially while they're still young, that's what they're going to be looking at.
Yeah, during that Niners game, I wrote that same thing in my notebook and was like, Gus Bradley 2.0, is that kind of what we're going to see? This
Yeah,
whole bend but don't break thing. And I
feels like
think that is the case. But again, if the rush up front works out, it could be a total game changer for them back in the back end. Just real quick on the defensive line, I'm curious to you. Like, we've seen so many bodies come through there. Do you think this is finally going to be one of those things where like they are rushing in waves, or do you think we're going to see them settle on maybe a group of 4 there, or is it just going to be a revolving door? You think?
I mean, we know what they have in Max, right?
Yeah.
And then it feels like after that, it's like, okay, well, what else, right? Adam Butler, I have a lot of confidence in what he can do at the defensive tackle position. I'm still interested in Malcolm Kuntz, though. I mean, he's coming back from the torn ACL. As a guy that's torn multiple ACLs, I know that your confidence level isn't necessarily back until the second year. And so I've been really paying attention to him in practice. And Pete Carroll alluded to it as well. Sometimes you just have to trust that you're healthy. Sometimes you have to trust that you're able to go. He's healthy. He's good. He had the whole year off. Technically, he's good. I don't know where his confidence level is right now, is if he trusts that his knee is okay. And again, I've torn my ACL in both knees, so I absolutely know, right?
That's no fun.
I will not play a game of basketball without a knee brace right now. I just won't. And I'm healthy. I'm good to go. But it's just a confidence thing. You don't trust it. And so I get where he's coming from, and I can see would he be slow to react, especially in football. I mean, you play the game. There's guys flying around your legs, and you start to get, in basketball it's one thing, but football it's a totally different subject. So I get where the lack of confidence is coming from. I just want to see him start firing off the ball a little bit quicker. It just seems like he's just a little bit slower off the snap, and that's his biggest attribute is his speed, right? His speed to get around the corner, and then boom, he's able to get to the quarterback. He's able to cause some fumbles. Like, he could be such a key, but he's got to be confident that he's good to go. So that development is going to be something, which is also why Tyree Wilson has to step up and play in, the edge. He has to play defensive tackle. They've got guys. Jonah Laulu, I like what he was able to do, but he's still young. Thomas Booker the fourth, the guy they traded for when they traded Ja'Cory Bennett to Philly, I think he's going to be able to play a big role. I think he's going to end up being a starter as well. I would not be surprised to see him next to Adam Butler in the lineup consistently. That's something to look forward to because I think he's really good. It's going to be a work in progress. I think we really won't know how good this defensive line is until probably like week 4, week 5 of the regular season. I really do.
Yeah, I'd agree. And I really like the tandem of Butler and Booker as well. I think they're both kind of interchangeable at that 3 technique and nose tackle spot, which I didn't expect when they traded for him. But now having seen him out there, real interesting what they can do with him. I want to get your take lastly here on Jeremy Chinn. Yes. That dude is moving all over the place. Yeah. How do you feel about him? Not only obviously what he's done moving around, but in coverage as well. As we talked about, that could be an issue for the defense as a whole. But how do you feel about Chinn and what he's brought to the team?
He's a Swiss Army knife, man. He's been that guy since college, right? I mean, this is a guy that went to a lower level college but found a way to get into the NFL because of versatility. He could play outside. He could play the corner spot. He can come up and play the big nickel as he's played. Obviously, he's playing the deep safety. I mean, this guy's lined up at linebacker. You go back and look at some of his snaps that he's had in the NFL. He's basically lined up all over the field. I really like him. I think he's a smart player. He's also a guy that wants to go hit everything, right? I mean, he's a guy that he cannot wait. Him, Landon Roberts, Devin White, Jamal Adams, those dudes, they cannot wait to be able to go and unload on someone that's not their own teammate, right? I mean, you're there. You see them, man. They're out there. Max, I'll throw him in there too. He's ready to go and hit someone that's not his own teammate. So, I like the addition of Jeremy Chinn. There's a reason why they gave him a 2-year deal when they signed him as a free agent. I think they understand that he could be a pretty good chess piece for Patrick Graham in this defense. And I think there's a couple pieces like that. Jeremy Chinn, Jamal Adams, Devin White to a certain extent. I think those guys could be chess pieces. And we've talked about Tyree multiple times. I think with his ability to go inside and out, he can also be a chess piece. So there's different pieces to play around with for Patrick Graham in this defense. They just got to put it all together. And, obviously the secondary is going to be something that we pay attention to a lot. But it all goes back to the defensive line. If they can get home and get home consistently, it's a little bit easier for everyone behind them. That's just the reality of the way that they play this game.
100%. I agree with you too, man. Like, this is probably the most versatile group that Patrick Graham has had to work with. There are so many of those like positionless type players at each of those positions, I guess is a way to put it, but they can slide around in so many spots.
Positionless football. I mean, it's just like, hey, I'm going to go out and play. Look, I got 11, you got 11, let's go play a game.
Definitely. Man, Q, I could talk to you for hours. I know you got a show and everything you got to do here, but this is the collab that Raider Nation was asking for. A bunch of people in the comments were talking about it, so I'm stoked to get you on. By the time this is up, you're probably going to be live on the air, so anybody listening, finish this podcast or come back to it, go listen to Q Live, and then come back and watch the rest of this. But what else you got cooking, man? I know you are always grinding, so what else can people look out for from you?
Man, always. I mean, I got the Locked On Raiders podcast every day, Monday through Friday. Just found out today it's a 7-year celebration. I've been doing that podcast. That's a nice long run, so shout out to Raider Nation for supporting me. Obviously, Raider Nation Radio 920. I do that 2 to 5 p.m. ESPN Radio, I'll be making my return on September 2nd. I'll be doing game night, so that'll be 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time. Hanging out with you, whatever, man, whatever I can do, I'm going to do. I'll be at Allegiant Stadium. You know how we got everything cooking, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Man, there's one thing, and Raider Nation knows this. Q is always working. This man, honestly, is the hardest working man in Raiders media, and I appreciate you coming on, man, and we will definitely do it again. Thanks again.
Yeah, no doubt, man. This is a fantastic platform, man. Keep up the great work.
Appreciate you, dude. Hey, shout out to Q. Seriously, he was always so good to me when I was at NBC, and he's been such a big supporter of the Silver and Black Sports Network, too, ever since I launched everything. We will definitely collab on some more stuff again in the future. You guys were calling for it, so we had to make it happen. In the meantime, that is going to do it for today's show. The Raiders are back out there tomorrow morning around 10:30 or so do keep an eye out for our next podcast later that afternoon after practice. And as always, I got to mention this, if you're not already subscribed to our newsletter, head to silverandblacksportsnetwork.com and subscribe to get that delivered right to your inbox every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 6 a.m. You can do that for free, especially if you take advantage of our training camp trial offer, which ends on Friday. So hurry up, get there and do that. That's a great way to support our show. And make sure you also like and subscribe to this podcast wherever you are listening to us. And if you liked what you heard, hit us with a 5-star review and leave a comment as well. Those things are so helpful to us. You guys have been awesome. Obviously, I read those comments. That's a big reason why I got Q on the show, because you guys were saying, it's Q and then me, which I think there's a lot of other great guys in this space. But I love hearing that stuff, and I appreciate you guys and the support that you have given me thus far. So, look, Q is one of the OGs in the Raiders space, and again, has been so great to me, so I'm so stoked we can get him on the show. But for all the comments, everything, the words of encouragement, you guys have been great. We appreciate you always watching and listening, and please do keep those comments coming. We will catch you later after practice tomorrow.